What's up, everyone? Welcome to the FAA podcast. Happy Football Friday. Pretty short show today. Not a lot of news going on. We did have a couple NFL signings recently. And, of course, the big trade, the George Pickens trade. We'll talk about that in a sec. But starting off, let's go to college football news. One transfer portal note: Oklahoma State quarterback Garrett Rangel is committed to Virginia Tech. So good recruitment there for Brent Pry and co. UFL news: Week 6 players of the week. The offensive player was Panthers quarterback Bryce Perkins. Just completely dominated the DC Defenders in a pivotal game there. Defense was Battlehawks edge rusher Peter Tamapenu. He had 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery, I believe, including the game-winning strip sack of Luis Perez last Friday. And the special teams player was Battlehawks kicker Rodrigo Blankenship. Hit both of his field goals, I believe, in a big-time game, what ended up being the game winner, essentially. Because it was 12-6 there. So, couple transactions in the UFL. Roughnecks, they released edge rusher Davin Bellamy. The Showboats, they released defense tackle PJ Hall. Panthers, they placed defense tackle Walter Palmore on IR. Big loss in the middle of that Panther defense there. The Battlehawks have a big loss as well, placing guard Abdul Beecham on IR. And the Renegades, massive offensive loss as they tried to make the UFL playoffs. Running back Kalen Balaj, he is out for the season, one of the top 5 rushers in the league. NFL news, of course, the big trade. George Pickens going to Dallas along with a 2027 6th rounder. Steelers getting a 26 3rd and a 27 5th. And I don't mind this trade at all. I love George Pickens. Loved him in the Steelers, the black and yellow. But yeah, I mean it's great value for Pittsburgh for a guy that they weren't going to sign anyways to a long-term extension. The trade for DK Metcalf and subsequent extension meant George Pickens more than likely was not going to get an extension as he ends his rookie contract next year. So makes a ton of sense for Pittsburgh, and they got a pretty solid value in a 3rd and a 5th, and just giving up a 6th back with Pickens there. So, yeah, also hate this. The only other thing I hate about this trade is that it went to the Cowboys and had to face him now in the NFC East with the Philadelphia Eagles. So, yeah, it's a good trade, though. I thought for both sides, Dallas severely needed to upgrade the wide receiver position opposite of CeeDee Lamb, and they did that with the George Pickens trade here. One thing to note, though, Steelers wide receivers leaving Pittsburgh. Receiving yards per game by Steelers wide receivers drafted the last 20 years. With and without the Steelers. So Antonio Brown, of course, 2010 6th rounder, 86.2 with the Steelers, 67.8 afterwards with 2 different teams. Mike Wallace, 2009 3rd rounder, 64.2 yards per game with the Steelers, 49.8 after with 4 different teams. Santonio Holmes, 2006 1st rounder, 63.9 with the Steelers, 42.2 after with 2 teams. Juju Smith-Schuster, 2017 2nd rounder, 61.2 with the Steelers, just 34.7 after with 2 different teams. George Pickens is the next one on the list, 2022 2nd rounder, 59.2 with the Steelers. We'll see what he does in Dallas and elsewhere. But Deontay Johnson, 2019 3rd rounder, 56.7 with the Steelers, 31.3 after with 3 different teams. Martavis Bryant, 2014 4th rounder, 53.3 with the Steelers, 31.3 or 33.3 after with the Raiders. Chase Claypool, 2020 2nd rounder, 52.4 with the Steelers, just 11.4 after with 2 different teams. So Got to keep that in mind. Pittsburgh wide receivers have not been very successful. Have not been very successful away from Pittsburgh, the receivers that they draft. So keep that in mind when you're watching George Pickens with the star on his helmet this fall. General news: the Eagles, they reworked the deal for tight end Dallas Goedert. He's going to stay in Philly for 2025. I think that's tentative still. I know people said he's going to stay in Philly, but I think that's a potential we'll see at the trade deadline kind of thing. The Panthers placed running back Jonathan Brooks on the PUP list. That means he is out for the 2025 NFL season. Makes sense. He got injured in December or November, whatever it was, pretty late in the season. So giving him the full year to come back from his second ACL tear in 3 years. Hopefully he comes back. I really am hoping. I love Jonathan Brooks at Texas. He was a beast. Super happy the Panthers drafted him in the second round last year. But we'll see. We'll see how he comes back in 2026. Couple releases. The Jags, they released wide receiver Gabe Davis, $12.5 million due this year. Just one season in Jacksonville. I believe he only had like 12 receptions because of injury. So, big time free agent bust there for the Jags. Panthers, they released edge rusher to Javion Clowney. So drafted Nick Scorton and Princely Uman-Mielen, necessitating the big salary cap hit off the books for the Panthers and Jadeveon Clowney. 49ers, they waived former second-round defensive end Drake Jackson. Failed physical for him, ankle injury, I believe it was. And so he is on the market now. And re-signing, talk about the Seahawks. They re-signed defensive tackle Jonathan Hankins. Some more depth there in the middle for John Seahawks. And a couple signings. The Dolphins keeping long snapper Joe Cardona in the division, signing the former Patriots, longtime Patriots long snapper. Dolphins released long snapper Reed Ferguson, signing the veteran Joe Cardona just today. And also today, the 49ers got some offensive line depth, signing two former Titans, offensive tackle Andre Dillard and offensive tackle Nicholas Petit-Frere, both to one-year deals. And that is all the news I'm seeing. So it's, again, pretty short show here. Not much to talk about. But UFL pick standings, yeah, it has. It was not very good last week, to say the least here. For Christian and I, anyways, 1-3. We were together in all 4 of the games. Got Birmingham right against San Antonio. The drubbing there, everyone got that one right. But Danny and Jimmy both hit their lone wolves. Houston over Memphis for Danny, Michigan over DC for Jimmy, and they were on the right side of the Arlington-St. Louis split that we had last Friday. So let's see what we got this week. Danny, though, we're in week 7, so 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 4 more weeks plus the 3 playoff games. So we got 19 more games to pick. We will see if anyone can get close to Danny or not. Jimmy's currently the closest at 5 games back. I am 6 games back, and Christian, I think, is pretty much out of it at 12 games back there. So tonight's DC Defenders at the San Antonio Brahmas. Brahmas got DC in DC earlier in the year when DC was 3-0. Brahmas were 0-3, and or 4-0, I should say. Yeah, 3-0. 3-0. Brahmas were 0-3. Gave DC their first loss of the year, but I think this is different. I think DC's out for revenge, coming off the brutal loss to Michigan. Just got pounded into submission there. I think they're going to come out on a Friday night and put some fireworks out there. It's currently at 9.5 for DC. I lean on the spread there for the defenders. The Brahmas have put up back-to-back weeks of 3 points on offense. It has not been very succinct at all. They lost Anthony McFarland as well last week on offense. A lot of shuffling on that roster this week, both at the offensive line and in the secondary. So I don't know. I think they're down a couple of receivers as well. Kevin Hogan gets the start back-to-back weeks. We'll see. It looked better with Kevin Hogan for sure, but this DC defense has a lot to prove as well. They've gotten blown up the last couple of weeks and have skyrocketed their points against because they are now near the bottom of the league, I believe. Points against here, yeah, they are them in San Antonio. That's where it's at. I mean, yeah, it's pretty bad so far. 22.2 points allowed per game for DC, 25 for San Antonio, second and worst. San Antonio gives up a ton of yards, by far the most, 329.2 yards per game. DC, though, continues to have good production on defense. Second in sacks, and it's weird. They have this pattern. It is an odd numbered week. That means DC is going to have sacks because every even week they've had 0. Every odd week they've had 3 or more. 8 in week 1, 3 in week 2, 3, 5 in week 5, 0 in weeks 2, 4, and 6. So they should have some sacks tonight, I would think, with the way the San Antonio offensive line has struggled this year. They are still tied for first in turnovers, 6 interceptions. They're tied for first in fumble recoveries. They're tied for second in interception with 6. And of course, they have a blocked field goal as well. But yeah, this I think there could be some points in this game. That's why I like the over. It's 38.5. Yeah, I think there's a couple of different scenarios that could happen in this game. Either DC completely dominates San Antonio, puts up a ton of points on that porous defense, and they hit the over by themselves essentially. Maybe Brahma's give them a little bit of help and hit the over, or it's a close game and both teams are scoring at will, and that's how we get the over there as well. So 8 p.m. coming up, 17 minutes on Fox. Got a lone wolf here. Panthers at the Renegades tomorrow. Christian rolling with the Arlington Renegades. And Christian, I've been on Arlington with you most of the year here. They continue to be my because we didn't do any midseason picks. So they are my XFL conference champion. They are my UFL champion as well. And this is a massive game for both teams. I think more so Arlington than it is for Michigan. Arlington needs to keep it in the race, keep itself in the race for that XFL conference playoff bid. The 2 spots at the top there are currently occupied by DC and St. Louis at 4-2. Michigan, on the other hand, they are fighting Birmingham at 4-2 for the top spot and one of the 2 USFL conference playoff spots. Of course, Houston is right there at 3-3 as well. But I am going with Michigan. I can't go against what I saw last week. They completely annihilated the DC defenders last week, offensively and defensively. So what I've seen from Arlington is they have letdowns in big games. It happened against St. Louis, and it happened against Birmingham. I think it was against Birmingham. Was it against Birmingham or was it against DC? No, yeah, they put up 33 against DC. They came back, did the defenders. Yeah, Arlington, though, was a rough loss there. So, or Birmingham was a rough loss. So, I think that Michigan should be able to get pressure on Luis Perez. He is the least mobile starting quarterback in the league, more than likely. And without Kalen Balaj as well, it's going to be difficult to get much going on offense against this Michigan defense, who, by the way, middle of the pack. They're 17.5 points allowed per game. That's mostly skewed with the 32 they gave up in week 6. But they are pretty good. Second in yards per game, 257.5. They're tied for fourth in sacks at 10. Big issue is they only have 5 turnovers. That's sixth in the UFL. So I like this Panthers defense, though, led by Frank Ginda. Mike Nolan gets it done there on the road in Arlington. So I like Panthers -3, I think. 42.5 is the total. I'm leaning on the under. Back-to-back Lone Wolves here for Jimmy. Back-to-back weeks with Lone Wolf for Jimmy. He is rolling with the Houston Roughnecks. Yeah, I don't know. I still cannot trust Houston. Jalen McClendon has really given this team a spark after a porous start with Nolan Henderson and Anthony Brown. But on the other side, Birmingham has a lot of issues, man. Case Cookus, Andrew Peasley, both banged up. Peasley not active this week. It's going to be Jamar Smith as the QB2. Jalen Morton recently signed, former Stallion, as is Jamar Smith as well. But Morton will be the third QB this week. So they have guys back there that have been in the system before. That's good for them. Losses, though, once again, though, injuries continue to pile up for Birmingham. They're doing some shuffling on the offensive line. Cole Snyder starts at center this week. And I don't know. They got Case Cook is beat up last week, even in a win over San Antonio, but one that they beat them up pretty good, 26-3. I don't know. I think this Houston team is a good shot at it. They won back-to-back games. They're trying to get into this thing, into the mix here at the top of the USFL conference. And I lean Houston +4.5. I think they should be able to cover. And like ESPN's Aaron Dolan said during the DC Defenders game, I think it was this past weekend, coming into that game, that week 6, 80% for the underdogs covering, which is ridiculous. So I like this dog to cover, though, +4.5 for Houston. That's actually 5.5 now, even better. So +5.5 for Houston. I like that one. And total's 38.5. I'm going to lean on the under. I think defenses prevail in this one. Birmingham, the number 1 scoring defense in the league, 13.7 points per game, gave up a high of 24. Just they are pretty solid against in yards as well. 4th, I believe it is, or no, 5th. Okay, so 6th. They're actually 6th in yards, 271.7, but they are and they're 4th in sacks with 11. Turnovers wise, they are also they are 6th, 5th. They are 5th. They're in sacks. 7 or turnovers is 7. So they have to fill up the stat sheet, but the main key is they don't give up points. They give up 1.6 points less than the next closest team, which is Arlington at 15.3. Houston, on the other hand, 17.5 points per game. Big yards allowed, second most in the league, 296.8. Just 10 sacks on the year. That's tied for 3rd worst in the league. And one thing that they do get is turnovers, though. They are tied for 2nd in the league with 10. 3 defensive touchdowns leads the league. So this defense knows what to do with it when they score. And I think they're going to give Case Cookus some issues here. Don't think they win, but I do think they can cover 5.5. It's going to be a close game, I think, in Birmingham. I mentioned total 38.5 here. I'm going to lean on the under, though. I like the under. I forgot to say Panthers Renegades 1 p.m. on Fox tomorrow, Sunday for this game on Mother's Day, 12 p.m. ABC and ESPN Plus. And the final game of Week 7, Battlehawks at the Showboats. St. Louis getting 5.5 now. Yeah, I've been impressed by Max Duggan. What can I say? He has been he's played very well, a lot better than what I thought he would after he came in from Manny Wilkins injured. Looked very bad in that game. But the last 2 weeks have been very impressive for Max Duggan, as well as this St. Louis defense. So I am impressed by Memphis as well. Dresser Wynn has played excellently in his 2 starts this year. Wes Hills gave him a big boost in the run game last week, so I can expect that to try to continue there. But this St. Louis defense is pretty solid, 15.5 points per game there. And they are third in the league in sacks with 13, tied for first in the league in turnovers with 11. Lead the league in interceptions with 8. So it's going to be a tough one for Dresser Wynn. I would lean Memphis plus 5.5, but I'm not going to play anything there. Total's 39.5 here. I'm going to lean on the over 39.5. 3 p.m. ESPN and ESPN Plus. And that is the show for today. Next Friday, we'll talk UFL Week 8. And also UFL game previews. Don't forget, we are also going to start next Friday. We will have the NFL schedule release on Wednesday. So we will start our off-season recap / season outlook shows here coming up next Friday. And we're going to do kind of something interesting. We're going to do reverse ends of the first round. So we're going to do actually it's going to be Titans and the Rams, I think, had the furthest non-first round because the Texans and the Rams did not have a first round pick. Yeah, the Rams. So we're going to do the Rams and the Titans next Friday for the off-season recap, season outlook, looking at their schedule and all the moves that those teams made. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast, Instagram and X, FAA_bets on X as well. FAApodcast.com is our website. Check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and we will and TikTok at FAA.podcast. And we will see y'all back on Monday.